Hey guys, basically here with my gs430. So 2001, so obviously 3UZ. Definitely not the cleanest looking engine, but no leaks. Anyways, basically what I was going through was a starter issue. Long story short, the starter was actually overheating. So from what I believe is after the car was ignited, the solenoid was staying on, overheating the starter to the point where if you shut the car off, even if it's after 10-20 minutes of driving, basically the car won't turn back over. Everything will work, turn the key, nothing. Solenoid won't click, won't turn on, won't do anything. I'm pretty good with electrical, so I had already troubleshooted everything just to make sure that it was nothing else shorting it or anything else that was messed up, but everything actually checked out pretty fine, in my opinion. Basically, also, I do have a brand new battery. Obviously you can't technically see it, but I do have a brand new alternator that I just put in. Also at the same time re-sealed my power steering pump. Basically, just to give you guys a quick rundown of anyone that's interested in tackling this job. Definitely wish I did the video earlier while I was taking everything apart. But basically, all you really have to do, that's the driver's side. Start on the passenger side and literally just disconnect all the connectors starting from the back, which basically the first one is the injector, and just basically work your way over, unplug everything you can just to get some slack out. Once you do that, where that stud is, that will be one bolt, that hole will be another bolt. So basically there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth one is back here. It's really hard to see, but you kind of got to put an extension socket through the hose. You'll see it though, but it's very hard to get a camera angle at it. But it's down there. It's not that hard to get to be honest with you. So once I did that, took the throttle body off. Just basically you got 2 studs with 2 nuts and then 2 bolts on the bottom here. Pull it forward. Obviously disconnect any electrical connectors that are on it. You have one here, one there, and obviously remove your intake out the way, which is the first thing that I did before I started this job. Then when you come over to the driver's side, it looks like a lot more, but it's really not. Basically you got to disconnect where this harness connects. So you have a bolt here, which is here, a bolt here, which is there, mounting bolt, because this actually angles up and bolts onto there. Basically same procedure. Once you kind of do that and start disconnecting electrical connectors, you'll be fine. Just be careful not to break them. Obviously this car is old, they're brittle. Obviously move this evap piece out the way. Any of these brackets that are on top, move them out the way. Same scenario. You got stud there, bolt there, bolt there, bolt there, and then you also have one in the back. It's actually easier to see. I'll try and point to it, but it's going to be that right there. So that one's the easiest one to get to. Just take it out. That one's a nut. Once you do that, the very last thing to do is to disconnect your fuel line. So this is your fuel line here. This is the other piece. I just have a rag here just because of the fact that I had fuel leaking. So this is this piece for the fuel line. This is a 14 millimeter and this is a 19. All you got to do is once it's on, just hold that with a 19, break this one loose. Definitely use line wrenches. If you don't have line wrenches, yes, you can use regular wrenches. Is just a little bit more safe to use those line wrenches, because you definitely don't want this messed up, which you can obviously tell that maybe previous owner, because this is my first time removing this, probably used a wrench or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. Came off, didn't really have an issue with it. So basically same scenario. Take that all off. Once that happens, you basically just got to lift up this intake manifold. Once you lift up the intake manifold, the starter will be under there, so I will get to that shortly. The intake manifold, it is heavy. It is obviously in an awkward spot, because if you look at the distance between, obviously the side and, your reach point, Some people can do it, lift it up by themselves, and other people, you know, it's easier just to have somebody on the other side. So what I did was I put the nuts back onto the actual throttle body, so that way it actually doesn't get caught in the throttle body holes when you're lifting it up, because you do have to pull it forward. Like I said, I mean, not really such a big deal to actually do. These are actually the throttle body bolts that I was talking to you earlier that actually get mounted on the bottom. So to make it a little easier to lift up, basically just screw them in, put one right over there as well, just screw them in, so that way at least when you grab here, you can pull up on this as well, while the other person grabs that one and the one in the back. And literally there's only 4 studs. You have the 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. You basically just have to clear those 2 studs and then pull the manifold forward. So once you do that, you're definitely in the go. The only thing I do suggest, I didn't do it just because of the circumstance that I do not have a compressor. If you do have an air compressor, before you even take any of the bolts out, try and blow all this debris out as much as you can if you have. And even if you don't think you do, just still do it anyway, because it'll help when you pull the manifold off, so that way you don't have debris going into the intake ports. I'm taking that chance. I've done it before, never really got them inside. If you do, you can use a rag, or if you have a mini shop vac with a small head, you can definitely, you know, just vacuum it all out, which it is ideal, because usually when you remove this intake manifold, underneath it where the starter is, sometimes you'll be surprised that there's leaves under there and just random stuff, dirt and, you know, buildup. So definitely want to clean that up as much as you can. I am not replacing the gasket for the intake manifold. I wish I was, but I don't have the time to sit on this car for another day to repair it, and I can't get a gasket kit till like another couple days. So I do not have the starter on me now. I will be on my way to O'Reilly's to pick up the starter, and while I'm there, I'm going to get a new throttle body gasket. It's not really necessarily to replace the gaskets, but obviously mechanic wise it is ideal. It's already apart, you'd rather change it. I mean, that's definitely the smartest way to go about it, but I will see how that goes. You know, throttle body gaskets maybe like 20 bucks from what I saw, so it's not obviously too bad. The starter was around $130 for the starter. It's an Ultima. I've never really had issues with them. I've used their alternators before. Never really had issues with them. Obviously, if you can go OEM, cool. I just didn't have the time nor the money to do that, especially with coronavirus and all the stuff going on. I mean, yeah, I'm still lucky that I work, but just because of the fact that, you know, don't really want to misspend money that I don't really need to. But then again, you know, your bank account might be bigger than mine. Other than that, just to kind of give you a little look at the car. She is dirty. Definitely waiting to get my bumper painted. I do have a lip for it, you know, replica TT lip like almost everybody else. This is actually a 430, but just to kind of like give you a little insight, I did swap out and went back to halogen headlights. I got rid of the HID setup, the OEM setup. It is possible. Basically, also these are eBay headlights. So what I ended up doing was, when I actually received them, I opened them up, I resealed them with better glue, and I clear coated them, so that way at least I get somewhat protection. I do live in South Florida. Basically, to do that, I wish I had the actual connector, but just to kind of give you an idea, this is obviously just a temporary, because I just did this. I'm not leaving this like this. I basically just did male and female connectors. Basically, the way that you want to do this is, these are my plug for my auto level sensor, because obviously the 430s come with auto level. Where you see this red and white wire, what comes out of here is going to be a white plug that actually connects into the ballast. So basically, where the headlight's here, the ballast is under here, and you're gonna see a little white plug with the 2 wires. All you gotta do is cut that, and that's it. Once you cut those 2, once you cut that harness, that's the only thing you do, just disconnect these. And I was able to run LED bulbs, which is what I'm running. 6,000 Ks. They're like 150,000 lumen. Pretty damn bright. I'll definitely do a tutorial next video. Like I said, this is my first video. I definitely wish that I recorded more, because I have done a lot of repairs on this car in the last few weeks. I just really honestly have not been committed. But anyways, just to give you a rundown, you know, 430, nothing too special. I'll show you the inside. It's pretty clean. I mean, I do have some interior flaws. Obviously, I need to get a new driver's seat. Other than that, all the rest of the interior is perfect, but this driver's seat. I mean, not perfect, but a lot better condition than when I had bought the car. You know, Pioneer double din. I will make a separate video on the install of that as well, because I know that there's a lot of people always confused about bypassing the amp and installing a system and how does that all work and things like that. So I will do a rundown on that, just so that way, you know, people see. And like I said, I wish I did the videos, but so sad I didn't. I will be making a video of the infamous door lock actuators that actually go bad. A lot of people think that you need to actually buy from the dealership, which are very expensive. A lot of people say that there's a certain year of the Toyota Prius that fits on these. Honestly, man, I read good reviews from a company on eBay that sells them, and I have used them before, and I know someone that used them before, so I ended up buying a set because I want to fix door lock actuators on this car, definitely because of the fact that I want to install an alarm system. And it's a pain in the ass because, you know, I got to manually lock the doors all the time, you know, so sometimes somebody's in my car, you know, they forget, and to me it's just not their job to lock my car, you know. I will show you guys the system that I did install. I'm actually converting the door speakers, since they are 4 inches. I do have kickers in there, but I'm actually going to install 6.5s, and I bought the adapters, and I will be doing a video on that. Definitely trunk is a mess, so excuse that. Oh yeah, I do have an HPS intake installed. Excuse my language, a lot of people talk mad shit, but the intake was honestly probably the best thing that I did to this car. I did see improved gas mileage, and honestly, I just did it just to fucking buy it. I didn't really care about anything. It's not like I'm racing or whatever, but, you know, definitely cleans up the engine a lot better, and definitely makes a lot of space, and it's good. So yeah, so basically that's my setup. I'll get into it later. Definitely excuse the wiring, that is temporary. The reason why is because I actually have a buddy of mine that is going to build a deck for the amp, and all the wiring won't be shown, and everything is going to be routed completely different. I did this install so fast in this car that I literally just, like I said, I just threw the wiring together. Definitely not my best work. I definitely could do better, but I've seen worse. But hey, criticize it if you want. That's why there's a comment section. But other than that, I'll definitely go through that whole scenario with everybody. And I will do another video of the full car, of, you know, the lights and whatever else I could do. So yeah, so basically just, you know, stay tuned. You know, I'll be back in a sec, and definitely be showing you guys once this intake manifold is pulled off. Yeah, so basically back, went to the store, picked up the starter, came back, pulled the manifold off. Obviously, as you can tell, it's not there. Surprise, surprise. But we have a issue, so I'm going to explain the issue before I show you guys where the starter is mounted, how you take it out, what's the best way to go about it. So let me just show you real quick the issue that ended up happening. So my luck too, and it's kind of funny because I literally said on the video that, oh, I've never had an issue with Ultima parts. I've used their alternators, I've used their starters before, never had an issue. Jinxed myself. So basically that's the starter. Before I get to that, real quick, this is the intake manifold. It's upside down. This is actually the vacuum. These are all the hoses. Just keep in mind as well, if you take off the manifold, just do a visual inspection of these hoses. You want to make sure that none of them are broken, you know, torn off, whatever. Definitely make sure this connector is okay. Obviously this one isn't. You know, just do a visual check, make sure everything's okay. Flip it upside down, obviously, because you don't want to damage anything when you take it out, so be very careful when you actually pull it out that you don't drop it, because I'm not 100% sure how much that part will cost you, and if you can even get it separately. Most likely you can. So let me now show you guys what happened with the starter. So basically, I went to go put the starter in and put it right in. So I'm putting in the bolts, and I'm wondering why as soon as I catch one thread, it's getting real tight. And I'm like, man, I know that I have it aligned. So go to show you, if you could see in the video, if you could see the threads, look how damaged the threads are. And this came out the package. So both mounting threads are actually, literally looks like someone cross-threaded them themselves and threw it back in the box. You see how destroyed they are? And 100% was not from me. And I pulled the starter off and I looked, and that was it. So now the issue that I'm having is I have to wait now for later on today or tomorrow morning to pick up another starter, because the only place that has it in stock is pretty damn far from here, and I really don't feel like taking that drive. So because of the fact that I am off tomorrow from work, I'll just wait till tomorrow morning. Hopefully he gets it today. If he does, I'll mount the starter in, and then maybe I'll see if I can put the manifold in. But we'll see what happens. And obviously I'll definitely make a continuation video for that, for the install, just so that way you guys see. So yeah, so now let me show you where the starter is actually mounted. So if you come back to the front of the car, now, all right, so I have this all covered up because obviously since now I'm going to actually, you know, not obviously finish this job, most likely today. Yeah, so these are the mounting bolts that actually mount the starter. Obviously you can see that one's pretty damn shiny because I tried, like a dumbass, I tried to clean the threads on the actual starter just to kind of see if it was just like build up of paint, and it went in actually really smooth, the bolt, but then that happened. But I have a tap and die set, so I'm gonna fix those threads tomorrow, so that way when I get a new starter I don't mess up that one. So yeah, so definitely keep that in mind. If you get an aftermarket starter, just look at the actual threading. So yeah, so these are basically just the bolts. Those are basically just the bolts for the starter. So I'm gonna take these covers off real quick. As you can see, I have the intake ports covered with rags because, like I said, you don't want debris and all that stuff to go inside because it is real dirty. I did inspect the gasket. Gasket is in pretty good shape, and believe it or not, it is an OEM gasket, which I was a little bit surprised about. I actually worked at Lexus for 2.5 years, but anyways, I'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, so obviously where you see that nice little hole, that's where the starter gets mounted. So let me actually explain something to most people. Most people drain the coolant, and I never understand why, because if you see that bridge that goes over the top, that's all coolant. So a lot of people drain the coolant because they take the coolant lines off, they take that bridge off because they claim that, oh, I can't access the bolts that, you know, connect to the starter. Reason being is because when you have the actual starter in here, the bolts actually, the bolt heads actually are in here and they bolt inward. So obviously it's like a weird little spot, but I'm not gonna go dig in my tools right now because I already put everything away. But if you use a nice long box head, you know, angled ratchet, ratcheting wrench, you can literally get it in there easy as hell, take it off. They are 14mm bolts, so literally break them loose you can fit your hand around there, but you can only probably get like 2 fingers on the bolts. But literally just crack them loose and literally just spin them off, and that's it. Take the connector off the starter, take the power wire off the starter, and then be very careful with the knock sensors. These are brand new. Previous owner did tell me that they replaced them, so I know for a fact that they're new. They look brand new. Just be very careful, because these wires and these plugs are very known to break very easily. So make sure you unclip this off of that, so you can kind of push it just a little bit to the side, because you want to pull the starter out and then up. When you put the starter back in, you want to go down and then in, which I'll make a video of that when I get the actual starter, so that way you guys can definitely see that. But yeah, so that's basically what I'm going through. Let me actually see if I have the wrench, just to kind of give you guys an idea. Yes, your boy got some Crocs on. So that's the issue. I don't know where I put the actual wrench at. No idea. Might actually be inside the trunk, but whatever. Yeah. So that's basically what I'm going through right now. So yeah. The other issue, I'm having some issue with my phone as well. I can't even like change the camera angles, and I don't know what's going on with it. So yeah. So I'm just giving you guys an insight. That's what I'm dealing with. But just keep it in mind that if you do get a starter, just, you know, just make sure that you actually pay attention to the threads before you actually take it home. Don't be like me, jackass. Other than that, I'm going to try later today or whatever to kind of like fix up these connectors. I mean, obviously not replace them, but I'm gonna inspect all of them, because I do not want to. They were already broken upon removal, but I want to just make sure that, you know, the terminals ain't loose, that there's not no issues, because obviously if I reinstall it, last thing I want is to turn on the car and then I have a check engine light, or I have a check engine light, or I have some type of code, or just the car acting dumb, and I'm sitting here, oh, well, you know, what's that? And then obviously it's because you know, it's one of these is messed up. So leave it at that. Let me see in the trunk if I have the wrench to show you guys. Might not, I have no idea. Yeah, I actually do. So basically, this is kind of what you want. I mean, if you have one, you have one. If you don't have one, you know, you might be able to get something in there. This is obviously a 12 to 14. Mountain makes this. You can get them online. If you're a mechanic, I mean, they're not bad price on the tool trucks. But yeah, so like I said, the brand is Mountain, so you can definitely look that up. And they're really good. So that literally saves your life. But just to kind of throw a little insight about me as well, I am a diesel mechanic. I work for transit for my county. I work on buses doing repairs. I did automotive for 9 to 10 years, Acura, Lexus, and Kia, and body shop. But that's just me. Doesn't mean I'm a professional. So yeah, so once I get the starter and get everything going, I will update you guys and definitely have another video. Thank you.